Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you.
Hey, Mama, hey.
Hey, Mama. How you doing, friend?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Well, good. I'm glad you can't complain today. If this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Kendra.
And I'm your host, Devin. Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
Welcome.
So we usually open our show up with a review, but we don't have any today. So we need you guys to leave us a review. It's so important. And I know you're tired of me talking about it, but we need your reviews. As you all know, we are powered by the SE Media Group, and we are trying to grow. We're trying to be a household name this year. We got the aesthetics now. We got the support. We got the team. Now we need your reviews. So please, please, please leave us a review. Thank you.
Like serious. Because we're not playing. We got bills to pay, right? And we can't pay bills unless we know what we're doing and how we're doing in and to our community. So seriously, your reviews mean a lot. So that's that.
So we have
the first set of business.
Yes, first set of business. Second set of business. We have a guest.
We do.
Yes. We have a beautiful guest, as you guys can see. Her name is Tiffany Laryn, and you guys probably know her from the YouTube world. And we're going to dive into that. And she is a beautiful spirit. We met her through Samaya and through social media, and we just like instantly clicked on social. It's like, oh, she mad cool. So we was like, we have to have her on the show. Of course, Samaya worked her magic and made it happen. And so we're so happy to have you here, Tiffany.
Well,
hey,
thank
girl.
you
Hey,
guys.
Mama.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. Like you said, we've been following each other on social media.
Yeah.
And I was super excited when somebody was like, hey, they want you on the show. I was like, yes. Just let me know when.
We happy to have you, girl.
Yes,
you
you
a whole
are.
into
Mama.
YouTube universe.
Right, exactly.
That's the whole deal.
Right. So on our show, we always ask our mamas to briefly tell us about their journey to mamahood.
Okay.
We understand every mama journey is different, and we know you probably had different journeys each pregnancy. So let's tap into it. Tell us about it.
Ooh, child, this feels... Okay, so I was a young mom. I had gotten married to my then husband. I think I was probably like 23-ish, which I don't recommend. Don't get married at 23, y'all. So I got married, and then I got pregnant shortly after, and I believe I had my first son around 24, roughly.
Okay.
My first pregnancy, it wasn't bad. I didn't really have any health complications. Well, I lied. I did have a fibroid situation, which was scary. I know a lot of African-American women struggle with having fibroids and pregnancy issues with that. And that was scary for me because I didn't know until I was pregnant, and I started having like these really bad pains, and I was pretty far along. I think I was about like 15 weeks or 20 weeks, and I felt like I was going to miscarry almost about how bad the pain was. But come to find out, I had a fibroid about the size of like a tennis ball.
Oh, wow.
And luckily, you know, it started to shrink on its own, and I was able to go ahead and successfully carry the baby. But as far as my pregnancy journey, on my first 3 that I had with him, it really wasn't the best. I was frequently cheated on. So I didn't have that pregnancy. It was like, oh, I was like head over heels and I was just loving everything. But I always loved my kids afterwards. I think that I learned a lot of lessons from those pregnancies. And I did have some trauma. So when I got pregnant with my 4th son, who I had with my current partner, it was... I don't know, bless his soul, because I kind of dragged him a little bit because I had all these like traumas that just kind of like came back up, and I was just always nervous. I was like, what if he cheats on me, and like, what if I'm not good enough, and all these things that just surfaced that I didn't really know I was still technically struggling with. But it was a beautiful journey with him. When I tell y'all, he was like thugging it out with me, like, girl, if you don't straighten up, I'm trying to love you. And
shout out to him.
Yes.
No, really, because he waited on me hand and foot. Like, I never experienced nothing like that. Like, he wouldn't let me pick up nothing. He wouldn't let me work. He wouldn't let me feed myself. Like, even when I had the baby in the hospital, like, he wouldn't even let me bathe myself. Like, I was in the hospital. He was like, you're not picking up a towel. You're not doing nothing.
Wow.
Every time I got up to nurse with the baby in the middle of the night, he'd get up and hold my back. Like, it was amazing. It was really beautiful. And I was like, damn, if only I had this the first 3 times. But, you know, sometimes God has you go through things so you can really appreciate the things that come your way in other times of your life and kind of can know, like, hey, this is what it really should have looked like. So I'm grateful for all my experiences because at the end of the day, I had healthy kids. I love all my kids. I got 5 boys. God bless
your heart,
my soul. Every day I wake up and fight the good fight, y'all, but I make it out.
How old are your kids?
So they're 12, 11, 9, 7, and then we have one that's turning 2 tomorrow.
Oh,
so
happy birthday.
Thank you.
So 5 boys.
5 boys.
And they are from preteen to 2.
I always let them know, hey, I'm a black mom. I will put your head between the stove and the refrigerator.
I don't play the radio. I don't play the radio.
I do not.
I don't play the radio. Well, it's so happy to hear that you have a supportive partner.
Well, thank you.
And shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him because that's my man and I love him. Yeah. He know I drive him up the wall, but baby, he know I love him.
Look, that's
we
all
love
that matters.
Love.
Yes.
We love. So speaking about your family, and Devin mentioned that y'all are pretty much like YouTube royalty, right? Can you tell us about how you all kind of entered into this YouTube universe as a family, and what does that look like for you all as a family? Like, what do you all do on YouTube?
So on our YouTube, we do long form episodic content, and I tell people that's like multiple episodes, like when you tune into your favorite TV show every week and they have a new episode. And we do comedy that's geared around kind of like Blackish, Modern Family, My Wife and Kids. We try to keep it wholesome and, you know, cute as possible. So when I first started doing YouTube, I started off doing like relationship comedy. And it went well, and I got a lot of subscribers. I probably hit about 100K in 9 months. And it just started to kind of like plateau because when you do adult and relationship comedy, at a certain point, you kind of start becoming like sexualized through your audience. And then they be like, can I get some more ass shots? Can I see a little titty? And it's like, no, yes, these men will come for you. So it started getting to the point where I was noticing other creators were continuing on, but that came with them maybe having to do an OnlyFans or having to do like exclusive content. And at the time when I was doing my adult comedy, people didn't know I had kids. Like these kids were non-existent. So I was like, baby, I'm not getting online with all these kids and doing nothing crazy because my son, I got sons. Right. They gonna get to Google it in a couple years. That my mama? It's like, it's a no for me. Right. So my homegirl, she's a YouTuber also, and she was already transitioning over to like family and kid stuff. And she was like, girl, you got all them kids. You need to go ahead and just do family comedy. And I was like, dang, I don't know. Because I was scared. So I'm like, all right, built this audience. Like, these men are not going to look for these kids. People don't even know I have kids right now. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, here we go. So we transitioned. And we sat in the oven, what I like to call it, for like 9 months. Like, we weren't getting no traction. The money had dropped. I was like, I don't think this was a good idea. And my homeboy was like, no. The writer was like, just keep going. She was like, I'm telling you, Tiff, it's going to pop. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it just picked up and it just took off from there. And I think it was like the best decision I made because I was like getting to a point where I was also, because production is so long, I was hating to stay away from my kids from all those hours. I didn't get to really spend that much time with them. And now we're just together like all the time.
Yeah. It's like a family bonding experience. Yes. That's what it sounds like to me.
And I really enjoy the fact that I get to teach them skills. So like we do let the older boys, sometimes we let them film scenes and we like help, the videographer will help them. We'll let them do like lighting. We'll let them boom mic sometimes. We'll tell them like, hey, can you come up with concepts for our sketches? Do you have ideas? So we really get them in the creative process and also like doing it so that they can also understand that this is a business. They do get paid. So I'm like, this is a job. So you better show up and act like you got some sense. And just trying to teach them life skills so they can continue to carry that on when they get older. And if they want to do entrepreneurship, then they can have at least a foundation to be like, okay, I'm off to like a good start here.
That's awesome that you're creating this space for them to, one, create, two, do something. It sounds like they love this work, but also build that work ethic that you're talking about. It's like, it's generational wealth, low key. Like you're teaching them how to build wealth within and keeping it in the family. So that's awesome.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'm trying, y'all.
So with that, it comes fame. And sometimes with fame, cruelty, criticism, people being harsh or trying to harm you. I don't know. How do you protect your boys from that?
Well, we have conversations with them frequently about, I always tell them, because we'll go out and they will get bombarded. Like, we'll be out to eat and they're like, oh my God. Like, the kids want to take pictures. And sometimes they'll be like, they'll tell me, Mom, I'm so tired of taking pictures.
It's those boys in pictures. I don't know what's those boys in pictures.
They be like, I'm so tired, Mom. One more person comes up and asks me, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I said, these are your fans, and this is what allows you to live the lifestyle you live and do the things that you do. And sometimes you're not always going to feel like interacting. Sometimes you're going to be tired. I was like, but when you go to Disney and you get these things and you do this stuff that you want to do, or you get to have these requests for these items, I'm like, this is where it's stemming from. So I was like, you always have to be able to appreciate the people that appreciate you. And they'll be like, okay, I get it. And then we have conversations about like not sharing your information. Like, you know, kids will ask you, just being kids, what school you go to? But you got to understand, sometimes these kids are more advanced than what they appear to be. And sometimes they're asking because they want to tell somebody else who may say, hey, you need to find out what they have, or, you know, where do they live at, etc. So I always say, like, don't share addresses. Don't really give out your phone number. Don't tell them what school you go to. Like, if somebody's being weird, like, don't let them follow you. You know, we talk about online safety, and personally, I don't let the boys have social media because I just feel like it can be a downward tunnel that I just feel like they're not ready for. At their age, I don't want them to be, even though they're on social media, like, they like to watch themselves. They don't really get too caught up in like the views and all that stuff because I don't want them to start having self-esteem issues because they're like, oh, this video didn't do well, or somebody said this or somebody said that, or anything like that. So I try to keep that I try to preserve their childhood and innocence as much as possible.
Love that.
Because I'm like, you only get to be a kid once. And then after that, life smacks you for the next 60
Smack
years.
the hell out of you.
I think smack is an understatement.
Like,
I really do. Because the way life and the way the world is operating now, like, you have to really be careful about how you expose yourself and how you expose your family. And it sounds like y'all have a solid plan on how you protect your boys, how you protect your family, how you protect your image. And shout out to you.
Well, thank you.
Because you're building
Legacy.
legacy and generational wealth over there. So you also have a podcast.
Yes, I do.
Shout out to you. And you've been very open, even just in our conversation here, about your past traumas and having to get through life and find love again. Do you want to talk a little bit about that love again? Because we had to shout your boo out. You know, like, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how did that work out for you? Like, how did we get to where we are now?
Ooh, child, a lot of we was in a boxing ring for a little bit. It's crazy because looking back, when we first got together, we were like really toxic, and it just was like, sometimes I think that when people come out of relationships, you don't necessarily understand the level of trauma that you may have until like you get with another person and you be ready to rock them backwards for some stuff that's like something that happened years ago. So when we first met, he's a little younger than me, about a year. But in my mind, when men are 26, I'm like, baby, you 16. Like, I gotta eliminate 10 years off of that because that's how far behind y'all be.
No, but seriously.
Facts.
Seriously.
So when I met him, I was like, oh no, you know, like, I was like, I don't date guys that are younger than me. And he's a rapper, and I was like, baby, I don't date rappers. And I remember he was like, oh, I'm not a rapper, I'm just a guy that raps to take care of my son. I was like, oh, that was a line. Okay, I was like, that was cute. So I was open to like dating him. But to be honest, like, one thing I think that Black people don't really do is I don't think that we openly date. Like, I've realized, like, when I talk to other people in our culture, they're not really dating multiple people at one time. It's like, this is who I'm dating, and then they get in this relationship and they waste a year, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he was it. I'm like, girl, when I met him, I told him, look, It's you and it's a couple other y'all. So may the best man win.
Right.
And that was my
that.
thing, because I felt like I had been in a marriage for so long. I was with my ex-husband throughout my whole 20s. So I'm like, you got my best years of a woman's life. So I'm like, I was with you all this time. And I told him, like, I'm not going to settle down with somebody just because I like them. So we really took our time. And I will say he was the most persistent, the most consistent, and he really showed up for me. So he was able to weed out all the other people. However, though, when we got together, there was a lot of trauma he had from his past relationships, and there was a lot of trauma I had from my marriage that I think neither one of us was like super aware of. So we kind of came to a decision, because it started getting so toxic, that we was like, okay, if we're gonna do this without taking each other out, then we need to figure out what we're going to do. So we decided we was going to go to therapy, and we were like, okay, we'll do therapy for, at that time, we was like a short period of time. And we're going to see if this is even worth working out. So we started going to therapy, and the relationship started getting better and increasing. And then 1 year turned into 3 years later, and we were still in therapy, and we was at a great place in our relationship. And that's kind of how we transitioned through the beginning to now. It's like we just really took accountability for where we were and decided, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to get somebody else in here. And we did the therapy, and we worked through it and realized, like, okay, we can do this with each other.
Very proactive approach.
Very
because obviously you both had traumas, and bringing traumas into a new relationship just builds or creates room for more trauma. So shout out to y'all for being proactive and using therapy to help navigate. Is this something that we want to do? And being mindful of that.
I think that people think, like, when you think of therapy, you kind of just think of, like, if there's an issue, let's go to therapy. But we go to therapy, we don't even got no problem. We just show up. We call it like preventative therapy.
Absolutely.
Like, maintenance therapy. We're just here. Like, what's happening this week? Nothing. We're just checking in, and then that way we can still get tips. Like, hey, have you guys been on dates lately? We might be like, we ain't really been on no dates. And he might be like, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's start doing this every month. Let's do this every month. Because sometimes when you're so busy and your relationship is going good, you kind of on coast. So sometimes that therapist can help you be like, okay, let's bring that spark back. Let's do this. Let's make these suggestions. And then you can kind of get that excitement again.
Love that for y'all.
That's what's up.
So going back to being in a relationship, getting a divorce, having 3 kids already, I think sometimes women stay in marriages just to keep that, like, family unit. Like, I'm gonna stay together for our kids, and we're gonna wait till they get grown to get a divorce or whatever, or to leave. And you did the opposite, and you found love again and decided to have another child. And sometimes there's stigma around that. What do you say to that stigma? Women who are afraid to have children outside of their previous marriage, divorcing and things like that, because I think it's okay. Like, I'm from a blended family. All my siblings, almost, you know. So it's just like my mom. She's like, "Oh, you cutting up? Bye." So on to the next. So to me, that was a norm, right? But sometimes, especially in the culture that we're growing up in, dads are more involved in family. The Black family unit is actually staying together more. Like, there's research to support that. So I think sometimes women kind of get wrapped up in, like, oh shit, you know. But you didn't do that, and you have a beautiful family and blended. And so what do you say to that stigma?
I say don't worry about what other people think, because with my last husband, they were very in the church. And I was one of those people, I stayed too long. Like, I stayed too long. Like, I let them get in my ear about, oh, the Bible said this and the Bible said that. But the part that was left out was, we're not taking accountability for this man's actions. You yelling at me about what the Bible say about a wife, but the Bible do say if your husband is cheating, you can't dip up out of there. And it's not a sin. But that's the line they was leaving out. It's like, oh, it's a sin, and you're going to be this, you're going to be that. And I stayed, and that's how we ended up producing more kids, and it didn't get healthier. And one day I just got to the point, I said, you know what? I was like, I have boys. I'm like, I don't want my boys feeling like this is how you're supposed to treat your wife. Like, I'm not raising dysfunctional men. Like, I don't want my boys to feel like this is normal, or women should stay around and put up with your shit. Because if my boys act a fool, I'm going to tell them girls, hey, babe, listen. Wrap it up. Get it on out of there. Because like, I'm not going to sit up here and make you stay. And I was just like, one day I said, Tiffany, I was like, you're not happy, you're depressed. I'm like, your kids are not in a good, loving environment. He's not even being a good father, let alone a husband. I said, you gotta go. And when I left, girl, I cried. I said, who's gonna want me with all these kids at this age? I know my brother's like, girl, if you don't get your shit together. And I was just crying away. And when I left, I was scared. Like, I didn't have anything. He didn't support me. He didn't say he was going to help with the kids. He kind of just left me for dead. Like, you figured out you broke up this family. And by the grace of God and prayer, because one thing I never did was step out on my marriage. And I felt like, because even though he did, and, you know, your flesh want to be like, that's what you should do. Something in me was like, but God ain't gonna bless you because you sitting here trying to put up with somebody or get revenge on somebody you know you shouldn't be around in the first place. So I feel like because I just stand in what I believed in and I left and I worked hard, I feel like God just continued to bless me. And even with the person I'm with, it's like I couldn't imagine having asked for this type of person because of the trauma I had. I wouldn't even really know what to technically ask for. I just was like, baby, just give me somebody like Russell. I'll take a Russell, baby. I don't know what that look like. I don't know the prayer, but that's here. That's what I want.
I need a Wilson.
And that's what I need. And it was just like my main thing when I was dating was, my main thing, I wouldn't say before me, but it was definitely top of my list, equal to loving me, was how are you with kids? Because one thing I learned from my marriage is you can't force a man to be a dad.
Oh, no.
You can't force a man to have father qualities. You can't force a man to show up for his kids. And I was like, I have to see you show up for your kids in a way that's just consistent and other people's kids consistently, so I know you just got it in you. And one thing about him is like he shows up for them kids. My partner shows up for those kids like they're his kids, but he has a spirit about him. It don't matter who kid it is. He's just there, and that's how my dad was. So when I left and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to be free. I'm going to do me. Like you said, I have a blended family on my dad's side. But one thing about my dad, he always made sure he don't care. It could be his 3 baby mamas and his 4 other kids in the room, and we all getting along. We just a family. But my ex-husband's family didn't see it like that. It was like, oh no, they'll never have another one. And I was like, baby, that's dysfunctional. So how we do it is we're one big family. If y'all don't want to be part of this, that's cool. But I'm teaching my kids, if stuff don't work out, you still respect each other's kids. You respect each other's space. You respect the other partners, because sometimes life just life and you can't help it. But at the end of the day, you still should love everybody equally, because you are still a family. But for those women who are concerned, baby, move on. Don't be sitting around being depressed and sad and showing your kids something that can turn into a generational curse and cycle, because it's better to see them be you in a healthy form and a loved in the correct way than it is to sit around and maintain somebody who don't want to be a parent and don't want to be a partner.
That's real.
Our kids pay attention.
They pay attention
to how we treat ourselves, to how we treat them, the environments that we raise them in. And shout out to you, and shout out to God for favoring you. Like, you honored your marriage despite what your ex-husband did. And now you are blessed with what sounds like the partner of your dreams, right? And shout out to him for loving you the way. Shout out to him, the baby. I still be bringing some of that trauma over. He be like, girl, sit down. Right? Therapy, right? Therapy. We say therapy. So with your divorce, how did your boys respond to that? And did they go through therapy as well? What did that transition look like for them? So my oldest, when I left, was roughly about 5. So he's the one that remembered the most. And the other one was about 3-ish. So no, Ty was about 4, because Kalai was about 3, and then the baby was about 1.5 years. So the 3-year-old and the 1.5-year-old didn't really too much remember too much of anything, but I feel like my oldest held on to a lot. Like, it's also because his dad would tell him stuff like, oh, your mom and I are getting back together, or like he kept trying to put this false hope into him to kind of control the situation. And I would have to tell him, I'm not getting back with your dad. I don't even talk to your dad. The things your dad tell you is not even true. So it started to really take a toll on him. When he was about 8,
because unfortunately his dad has a lot of, I can't diagnose him, but it's giving narcissist. And he often tells him things that aren't true, or has a very a way of like very much like that give and take love. Like if you do this for me, then I can love you, but if not, it's kind of like I got that resistance towards you. So it kind of confuses him, and he still holds on to a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda, what if. Like even recently he cried about something his dad told me he's gonna take him to Disney World like 6 years ago. I'm like, baby, you gotta let that go. Like you're crying over it, and why I just don't understand why he keeps telling me things that aren't true. And I'm like, welcome to my world. So I'm like, it's just who he is, but you still have to love him as your dad. So it got to a point where I had to put him in therapy because he was having a lot of anxiety. And he would rub his hand on things to the point where his skin would kind of get like raw. And I could see that he couldn't regulate himself. So he started going to therapy. And then I put my other two in therapy. So they all been in therapy for probably about 3 years now. They've been in therapy. And I love her. Shout out to Dr. Nisha Johnson, because she does great with the kids. They all go every other week, and they really enjoy their sessions with her and just like talking to her and kind of getting all their feelings out, because some things he doesn't want to share with me pertaining to like his father or personal things he's going through. And I don't never pressure him. I'm like, if you want to talk to me, I'm here. But if you don't, baby, that's why we pay this lady right here. So go talk to her. So I think that it has really helped them. And I think that if you are a person going through a divorce or like a separation with a relationship you've been in for a long time, really think about taking your kids to a therapist and kind of just letting them get through all those things. Because if we really kind of dive into our traumas and things that may have happened, it's because we sometimes have issues from our childhood, from stuff our parents did that they didn't know. They was just being human. But our generation was like, hey, stop all that crying and don't you do that. So it's like we just keep it in. But now kids have the access to these professionals. And it is important because your kid may be struggling with something that you don't know and they don't express on a surface level. And if you're not really paying attention to your child, because we're so busy sometimes, we may not notice that the rubbing of the hand is more consistent what it should be. Or like they get this nervousness about them every time somebody appears, because we're just kind of moving through life. So it's like, just really take the time to be like, okay, let them go for a few sessions and see if it does help them, because it is important.
We're raising our kids a lot differently.
Than
what we were raised. We're more conscious and aware of behaviors and emotions, and we're allowing them to express themselves. I do have a follow-up question for you. Is there a co-parenting relationship between you and your ex-husband, or is he like, what does that look like?
What's the proper term? Parallel parenting. That's our relationship. We don't talk. If it ain't a death or if it's not a broken arm, we can't. I tried to have a co-parenting relationship, but I feel like when you deal with somebody who hasn't dealt with themselves, when you still have someone who is not just living in their truth, when you have somebody who has narcissistic traits, it's very much of a control. Like a lot of things that I think he does, it's like, why do we have to argue about this? Like if I ask you a question, if I say, hey, if I say for sure that I know your kid is not reading over there because it's coming back to me, and I can tell because they're losing something, and I say, hey, can you just make sure your kid is reading 2 books while they're over there? Don't tell me how to parent. And baby, I'm not arguing with you. It's always this like sense of like, I need you to argue with me, but I feel like I need you to argue with me equates to, it shows me you still have love for me in a way that I want you to. But it's like, I don't have love for you in that form, so I just remove myself from the situation. And baby, before I argue with you, I'm just gonna leave you on red, and that's it. He doesn't get to call me. We only speak on our safety parenting app, because it has been times he has verbally and try to physically attack my partner currently, do things for him to leave me, do things in front of the kids that's unsafe. And it's just like, I don't have to deal with that. So we just have to understand now we have to remove ourselves from the situation. And unfortunately, we can't co-parent. I would love to co-parent. But I also have to understand, if you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're constantly putting the kids in danger, putting my partner in position to go to jail, doing something that's going to ruin my brand and what I built, I can't have you around. I don't care who you are.
Setting boundaries.
Right.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
no, baby.
You go, girl.
Them type of people are
crazy.
You know some narcissists now.
It's a wild place to be.
Wild West.
No, thank you.
It's a wild West.
So more back to you as a mama, because we kind of going all over the place, but you're a boss ass mama.
Thank
You're
you.
into real estate. You got your podcast. You got your YouTube. You buying the block. Like, tell us about that. Tell us about your ventures with real estate.
So we recently purchased 3 houses.
Shout out.
Thank you.
Teach
So the goal is to get a house for each kid.
Love that.
And I want to keep it, do we have to live in this? So one of them asked me, no, you don't have to live in this, but it is for you to be able to have income, sir, okay? You'll understand when you get older. But our goal is to buy a house for each kid, and then that way we can maintain it. And then, of course, we're going to put it like in our trust and do all the necessary paperwork, because God forbid if I croak over, the courts will not be debating my stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, get it and give it to each of the kids. And just really, like, our goal is with that, and anything that we do really, is just to build generational wealth. Like, I grew up in a very low poverty area. I had a very rough childhood, and shoot, we was poor, baby. And I was like, I just don't want my kids going through that. I think that, our culture already has, unfortunately, like, we have a slower start. So I'm just trying to get them ahead of the game, and at least that way you'll be able to have finances and resources that other cultures have access to at a younger age. And then hopefully you will take those traits and continue to build wealth throughout your generation, and we can just keep this thing rolling. I want to be the grandma that dies and they be like, because of my great 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 grandma, this is why we rich. I'll be like the Chris Jenner.
Fly in like 90 years old.
Because of her.
We rich. I love that. Love that.
So Devin, amongst all your other businesses, mentioned that you have a podcast, and we also talked about this a little earlier. How has that changed your life, having a podcast? Like, what does that feel like for you?
Samaya put me in a chokehold, because that's what she do.
She'll do that.
And shout out to Samaya.
We love you, girl.
And I mean, I had all these stories and all these traumas, but nobody really knew me. Like, I show up on social media and I was the character on YouTube, or I was the content creator mom on Instagram. And I didn't really talk much. I didn't share like, hey, these were my struggles, or like, girl, this is what happened to me. And everybody, I think, just kind of assumed, like, how you see people and you're like, girl, your life could have never been hard. It's like, it don't look like it's hard now. And I'm like, no, baby, we went through the trenches. So her and I were talking, and she was like, you have a story and you really need to share it. And I was nervous, because I'm like, baby, when you share them stories, this man is embarrassing. Because when you share your story, you got to tell your part too. I messed up here, but it's like, that's being accountable. So the podcast, Take Two with Tiffany Laryn, is about my second take on life, and just talking about where I started, like what traumas happened, what I learned from them, what I could have did better, what I could have changed if I could have went back and changed anything. What am I doing now? Where am I still fucking up at? Because I'm still human, and I still, you still carry some of those traumas with you. You can go through therapy and all that, but baby, the right person to bring them right back up out of you. So it's just really focusing on my new journey and just letting people know, like, it's okay. Like, what I really want people to take from the podcast is, it don't matter your circumstances. It don't matter what you started with. It doesn't matter who helped you, who didn't help you. Like, you really have control over your own life, and you can really change your circumstances if you really just focus, take some accountability, and hone in on your goals. You can really do what you want to do, and it's okay to have these mistakes. Like, that's being human. You can't be great, or you can't evolve without making mistakes and then learning from them. So
what's your sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, okay. I'm a cusp. I'm a Libra Scorpio.
My son's a Libra. You like super
Shout
sweet.
out. Am I super sweet?
Yeah, like, are you like a caring? Like, I gotta kind of like.
Caring.
That's how my son is. He gonna make sure I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she'll take care of you.
You good? I'm
But she's also very direct.
I'm very direct too. That Scorpio come out of me too now. But yes, I am a nurturing, caring Libra sometimes. And I'm sometimes a very direct and no nonsense Scorpio.
Are you emotional on your Libra side?
No,
He's
not really.
an emotional Libra. I'd be like, boy, we don't gotta cry over that. It's okay. I just don't understand why everybody's being so mean to me.
How old is that one?
That was 8. I'd be like, baby, it's okay.
Baby, is he a September or October?
He is October, like 1st of October.
Oh, yeah, he's a true
early.
Libra.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Crazy.
So self-care, you know, we talk about you buying a blog, having a podcast, doing a YouTube, content creator on Instagram. Like, how do you take care of yourself?
I don't.
With all of that.
Somebody yell at me every week. I try though. You know what I'm doing now, Somebody? I'm taking naps.
That's self-care.
That's self-care.
That is self-care.
Naps are
Just
self-care.
baby, before I wouldn't take a nap for the life of me. My eyes just be stuck open like this. I'm like, I'm good. I've been trying to get more rest. I've been doing things like, you don't really have to do that right now, Tiff. Like, you could really just, I'm going to do that later. And then, like, if I have an appointment or something and I'm just too tired, then I'll just be like, forget it. I'm just going to pay the cancellation fee and go. And not go. When before I would just, like, over-skirt myself, push myself through things. I try to go and, like, have dates and really enjoy them and not be, like, at the date, like.
Yeah, present. Yeah.
Try to be present. Just try to be more mindful. My thing right now is just more so resting, like not feeling like I have to create everything, not feeling like I have to film everything, not feeling like I have to drop something. So mine has been more so like in a rested state and just keeping my nervous system like stable. Because I'll get real anxious and I'm an overworker. Like, baby, I'm going to stay up, I'm going to do some work. I'm going to go sleep working and I'm going to wake up doing some work.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of just like, be stable.
Yeah. So are you delegating tasks or you have to like have it and having difficulty with like releasing the control?
You ain't tell the truth, you want me to lie.
I was just trying to trick this around my mind. We gotta keep it real.
So I was very controlling. Like I do still have a lot of control in me, but I have been delegating more tasks. Like before, my partner now helps with a lot of the filming and directing. Okay. When before I'd be like, I gotta still come watch and make sure you getting it. Now I'm like, shit, it's gonna turn out however it's gonna turn out, and he gonna be straight because he can do it. Or like I'd be like, oh yeah, instead of me running over here grabbing some, I'm gonna have my assistant go do it. So I have been taking the control out. It has been making me a little nervous, but I'll be like, Tiffany, it ain't gonna burn down, and that's all that matters. So,
but that's self-care.
Yes,
that's self-care.
It very much is, because when you be trying to control everything, your nerves be bad. You be yelling at everybody,
apart, getting sick because you're trying to stay up and be everything to everybody.
And you need to rest.
You need your rest. So I think sometimes the narrative with self-care is all the like the aesthetic things, like getting your nails done and hair done. To me, that's maintenance.
Yes,
that's not
I
self-care
agree.
because I'm stressed the hell out just trying to get to the damn airport.
You know what I'm saying?
So to the nail salon or wherever I'm trying to go. So I hear you on that, and so kudos for taking your rest, because that is self-care. Taking a nap, or sitting in the car on your phone, being away from people, including your kids, partner, whoever, like that's self-care. So good for you.
And naps. And naps. So what's next for you?
Ooh, what is next for me?
You got a lot going on, so I'm curious.
I know. I'm like, what else could she come up with?
What's next?
Well, I am working on expanding out my YouTube channel. So right now we work with kids who are like 8 to 12 and we do like mostly comedy. So now we're getting ready to venture into the age group of like 14 to 19 and we're going to get into a little bit more drama. Okay. So I already shot like a Fresh Prince remake. Oh, cool. It was real dramatic, y'all. And we just did like a Who Killed the Mailman series, which is like a murder mystery. So I'm excited to venture into that realm of content, because the shooting's different, the vibe is different. Like, then we're with the older kids, so that's a different feel. I have to be like, hey, stop touching each other. Stop eating your boogers. Hey, what are you doing? Why do you need 40 snacks today?
Right.
So I think that I am definitely excited about that, because I just want to know, like, where's that going to take the channel to? Because now we're opening it to a whole nother audience. Also, it's just being more present on social. I know that sounds weird, but this year I'm going to be more of my face of my social, meaning more like intimate with my community, getting back to like talking with people, going on like lives, maybe doing stuff with more voiceover type of content so people can feel really connected instead of like music and just pictures and the videos. And hopefully this year I would like to do some more like speaking engagements, like panels, etc. Get out there.
Because you are on a panel.
Yep, coming in March.
Yeah,
Yep. Shout out to the Boss Mom movement.
Yes.
And Ashley. I am on a panel in March, and it is March 9th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not doing my dates with anything. It's March 9th, so make sure you guys grab some tickets. And it's a whole bunch of different spectrum of women on there, from content creators to business owners, etc. We're just going to be speaking on different areas of expertise. And I'm really excited. This would be I went to one of her events, actually the one she had last year, and it was really good. And I really liked the feel of it because the women, it was vendors who were women who were like either moms or, not moms, but they were just selling products. Yeah. Everybody was like supporting each other. It was a great networking event. So I'm really looking forward to being on it this year. She actually has it at like a really big venue at the hotel, so she's excited about that because it's kind of upping her space. So I'm excited to see everybody who's coming out, and it's actually going to be like a 3-day event this year, I think, instead of one.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, look,
that's a big deal.
And you got the podcast, so you're doing a lot of speaking. You're doing a lot
like,
of talking, girl. That is awesome. That is awesome.
I've enjoyed our conversation.
Well, thank you. I have too.
Yes, I've learned a lot about you.
Well, thanks.
Girl. We'll have to get on that live together.
Yes.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Tiffany. Yes.
We should do that.
We should do
That'll
live.
be fun.
Okay, friend.
Oh, see, my PR side. Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. So y'all see, Tiffany has a drink in her hand.
Let me get mine. Hold on.
And y'all
This
know
is
I keep
good.
one in mine.
Yeah, you know I keep one in mind.
Yes, I love a good cocktail. So we are sipping on the Boss. And when we say the Boss, we mean the Boss, like the BAWSE. And that describes Tiffany. Like, she has really poured into our space. So thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
But in talking about you and to you do a lot. And you are like a boss mama.
Oh, thank
so we
you.
named your drink the Boss. And I want to say that our drink was sponsored by 2 of our new favorite mixologists. Shout out to them. For one, they gave you a mocktail because you wanted to have a dry January, February, whatever. But y'all know I keep mine a little moist, right? I got a little extra something in here. And they actually made Tiffany a mule, but it has strictly lime and simple syrup.
It's so good, y'all.
Okay. And ginger beer, I believe. But we have a French mule. So we have gin instead of your traditional vodka or your bourbon. Y'all know I like my bourbon. And I like my gin too. So that's why we got a French mule. And I want to shout out our mixologists. So thank y'all for giving us a good cocktail today and sponsoring our Mama Juice for today.
Yes.
So shout out to the boss, Tiffany. Cheers. And shout out to you and all the success that's ahead for you and your family.
Thank you. I pray you guys continue your podcast on. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So our next segment is Mama's Corner. So this is my favorite part of the show. We get to connect with our guests further. Our listeners either write in and ask a question, ask us for advice. Sometimes the advice is good, sometimes it's bad. So if it's bad, we didn't say nothing. If it's good, give us our credit. But sometimes we're a little reflective, and so we can ask further questions with our guests. And so this is a unique topic because a lot of times people think like their child is a star, right? And or get, oh, y'all should be a YouTube family, or y'all should do this, or y'all should do that, or whatever. Can you tell us like really what it takes, and like how do you know that's for your child?
How do I know if your child should be a star? Ooh, baby. I think that children who are stars, well, first off, I think that parents should just be a little more accepting of criticism of their kids. I sometimes work with some parents who think that like they have influenced their kids already, but what parents sometimes don't understand is you have to understand like what type of social media your child is doing. Meaning like if your child does like TikToks or short form content, yes, the numbers can easily go up and it can give the illusion that your child is a star. However, if your child cannot be in a different realm of multiple things, then it's okay. Just curate them, but don't make them something that they're not. Because what people don't understand is the short form content is easy to do and it runs up the numbers quickly, but they feel like, oh, if my child has this amount of numbers from doing shorts or TikToks, then they're an asset to your channel. And it's like, no, because your child's audience isn't looking for long form content. So your child can't drag no traffic to my channel. If anything, it can reverse back to your child, because now they'll be going over here trying to figure out if your child does long form content. I think that they and the kids and the parents just need to be open to criticism, need to be open to enhancing their child's skills, because I like working with kids who are not influencers, honestly, because the ego don't come with it. And I can be like, okay, I can coach you, because sometimes you have these influencer kids, it's an ego and then they're not coachable, but then you're not that good. And then I have to be like,
no, ain't worse, nothing worse than an ego that ain't good.
I'd be like, Lord, child, just let me help you. So I think that just people being open to being like, okay, being open to always being able to enhance your talent, being open to understanding this is a constant growth process, being open to understanding you're not perfect, just because it doesn't matter where your numbers are. Even with mine, I still have my mentor, shout out to Kanigra, I talk to her, she tells me things, we're almost at 1 million and I'm still like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right, or hey, this and that, because it constantly changes, and because it is entertainment, you always have to be able to grow with that. And I think people just need to understand it's a constant growth. People think it's just post a video, something go viral, you're good. No, you have to watch trends. You have to see how it is. You have to see what acting people like. You have to see what type of content they like, what theme of the content they like. Is your child giving me crying? Is your child selling me that they're hurt? Is your child actually funny? Or do you want your child just to show up because you now have X amount of followers and you think that's okay? No, it's still a job. Even my kids, I had to pull them to the side and say, hey, I don't like that. That's not giving what it needs to give. You either need to do it like this, or you need to work on it, or... And I'll be honest with my kids, I will get somebody in here to replace you. Because at the end of the day, it's a job. But I don't ever want y'all to live in that fantasy of like, I'm good. Because even when you get to the real world, you're not going to be good. Go on set in the real world, mess up, see what happens to you.
Right.
They're going to call your double in immediately. Yeah, it's okay. We don't need you for the rest of the day. We're going to get rid of you. So I just want them to know, like, I do think it's a beautiful thing. I think that it's definitely a safety thing. I think that you shouldn't... how can I say this nicely?
You don't have to say it.
The
real way.
Don't.
However it comes out, comes out.
Like sometimes I get uncomfortable when people are trying to build their kids' Instagram off of making couple content, and your kids like 9 or 10. Like, baby, don't. Yeah. I don't want to see relationship content with kids that are 9 and 10. That's weird to me. Like, just let your kid be a kid. Let their talents come through, and just multiply whatever gift God gave them already, and then coach them in the other areas and let it just flow. And then your child will be okay. And make sure it's something that they're enjoying themselves doing. Because I ask my kids all the time, you enjoying this? If they say no, I give them a break. All right, well, you won't film for a while. It's okay. I got 18 other kids behind you. And then they'll get mad and be like, Mom, what? You haven't filmed with me for a while. Oh, you ready to come back? Okay.
But I like
so,
that. No pressure.
Yes, no pressure.
Okay.
But it is when you come to work.
You better put it on.
You better show up.
That's the no nonsense Scorpio.
Okay, so I do have one more follow-up question about that. So if a mom feels like her child is ready, right, and want to start this YouTube journey, where does she start? Does she just get a phone? Like, she contact somebody? She contact you? Like, what that look like?
I think that just start. I tell people all the time, just start. Don't overthink it. When we started, baby, when I go back and look at my first videos, I'm like, I don't even know why y'all was watching me, because that was crazy. The acting was bad, the camera was bad, but don't get caught up on what you see people do now. Like now we have expensive cameras. Like, we have expensive production now. We never started off like that. So start off with what you have and build your audience, because the thing is, as long as you build a community, they're gonna follow you through the journey. People like seeing the journey. Yeah. People will hit me up now like, girl, I've been following you since way back when you first started, and I'm just so proud of where you are now. And it's like, yeah, because you've seen it grow. So take your phone, whatever you have. If you can go buy a camera, buy a cheaper camera that's good, and just start there. Write you up some scripts. If you're creative, help your child do it. Just get you some little lights from Amazon. Work with what you have, and then don't worry about the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. Just keep building. Don't look at the numbers. I remember one content creator told me, baby, if I drop something, if it's bad, I don't let that steer me off. I just keep dropping content because somebody's going to like it. And I always kept that with me, because if you start watching your numbers, you get discouraged, and then you quit early. You quit too early, because it is a growing and building process. Don't watch it. Just drop your content. Continue to make better content every time you make content, and just keep going. And every time you start making money, up your equipment. Okay, now I can do this. Now I can buy this. Now I can pay these people. And that's all you got to do. And eventually you'll look up and be like, damn, I don't even know how I got here, but we here.
Yeah. But you do know, because of the consistency and faith in yourself.
Yes. And that's why I tell people all the time, consistency outweighs talent. You can have somebody that's super talented, and you could be like, damn, why they never made it? You got somebody that's mediocre, and their consistency has beat the person with the talent, because if you stay consistent, you can get yourself to a point that you're talented. But if you're talented with no consistency, you can't build nothing.
Exactly.
You talking to us too.
Right. We started out from the bottom.
Right,
now we here.
Look at you now. Started from the bottom now.
Let's keep Drake, because that's really what our story is. And it's like we were recording on our iPhone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was everybody's message. Stay consistent.
Stay consistent.
Y'all got it. Y'all got the content. Just stay consistent. Y'all get to where y'all want to be.
It's the truth, though.
And it's happening. So this was a great conversation.
Thank
you for kicking it with us.
Yes.
Anytime.
We got to have you back, because an hour is just not enough. But we got to have you back so we can talk some more. But yeah, this is great. If people want to follow you and they're not familiar with you, where can they find you?
Okay. You can find me on all platforms at Tiffany Laryn. That's Tiffany, Tiffany, because everybody always asks me is there something at the end of that. And it's Laryn, and that's on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. And then if you want to follow the podcast, it's at Take Two with Tiff.
Yes.
That's my Instagram. Take
Listen
Two with
to
Tiff.
it, y'all.
Yes.
It's real good.
Thank
your podcast
you.
is dope. I love it.
Thank you.
So yeah, until next time, mamas. Bye.
Bye.